Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of January 21st to the 27th. Today is Saturday, January 27th. So this week was just the same old, nothing really much going on. I did get through a few books, so I'll share my thoughts with you on those. I am in the middle of a couple, and then I've got a Yarnie update for you. And that's pretty much all that we've done. I think maybe I'll share a little bit with you about one of the things we watched last night. But yeah, let's get into it. So first off, I finally finished Bungo Stray Dogs Volume 2 in the light novel. This one is by Kafka Asagiri with illustrations by Sango Harukawa. This one is called Osamu Dazai and the Dark Era. This one's published by Yarnie, ages 13 and up, so that is teen. So this is a story about Dazai when he was in the Port Mafia. And it basically tells you why, at the very end, he decides to leave the Port Mafia and join the Armed Detective Agency. That is the whole reason why I wanted to read this book. But inside the book, there is a mystery going on. He does investigate with another one of the colleagues in the Port Mafia. And it's an interesting case. This one took me way too long to finish. I don't know what it was. I was interested in the story when I finally, sat down and actually put some time into it. But it wasn't one of those stories where I was like, oh, I really need to know, what happens next. It wasn't one of those for me. I enjoyed the characters in this installment, even though they were Port Mafia members. The ones that are involved in this particular installment, they're not like your typical, what you would think of, Mafia members would be. They're not really violent. In fact, one of the characters, the character that we actually have the point of view from, hasn't killed anybody in a really long time when we meet him in this installment. And so, yeah, these are kind of the three characters that are the main ones in this installment. So we've got Dazai here, Oda or Sakunosuke Oda, and then Ango Sakaguchi. And so, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting story, and I quite enjoyed it at the end. When I put it through Callpile, I ended up with a 3.5 star rating, which is much higher than I had initially thought, because I did use the Callpile rating system to give me a rating. So it asks you a whole bunch of questions on what you thought of certain aspects, like characters, plot, intrigue, and all of that. And you give each of those a rating, and then it averages it out and gives you your actual rating. And I had completely thought this was going to be a 3-star. And Callpile gives you 2 ratings. It gives you one for Goodreads, which doesn't give half stars. And then it gives you one if you want to use half stars. So it gave me a 3.5. That's what I put into Storygraph when I logged this novel. And then I used the 3 when logging into Goodreads. So, yeah, it seems like I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought. And so, yeah, I finally know why Dazai left the Port Mafia, which is great. Totally get that. And I think it's an understandable reason. And I'm looking forward to continuing to the next one. I believe the next one happens after the manga and anime story starts. So I think my daughter's in the middle of reading that one at the moment. So I'm not going to get to that one right away, but really enjoyed these characters. I enjoy this world. All of the characters that we meet are power or skill users. They all have supernatural abilities, and so that makes it really interesting as well. And so, yeah, we'll definitely be continuing with this series because I have a lot of interest in what's going on in the anime and the manga. These light novels, though, aren't as interesting to me, but I still enjoy them because of the characters that are involved. So, yeah. Enjoyed that one more than I thought. And then for my TBR game, which this was also for my TBR game, so that was my first one down. My second one for my TBR game was to finish a series, so I finished Manner of Death. This is volume 2, so you can see, maybe you can't see, but right there under the 2 it says final. So this has art by Yukari Umemoto and original story by Sammon. This is published by Yen Press, rated mature. This is a Thai story, so it's adapted from a Thai light novel about a coroner who gets called to the scene of what is supposed to be a suicide, but as he looks around the crime scene, he notices things that point to homicide. And while he is pondering all of his findings, he gets accosted and is told that he needs to file the death as a suicide or bad things will happen to the people he loves. And something does end up happening to someone close to him, and so it makes him even more interested to find out what the heck is going on with this particular case. And so I was interested in seeing what was going to happen with this one because I really do feel like things were wrapped up in the first volume. They definitely do get wrapped up in this one. You can see that this volume is pretty thick. I would say half of this volume is part of the mystery. Like, figuring out parts of the mystery. So, the biggest part of the mystery does get wrapped up in the first volume. This first half of the volume wraps up the whole thing. And then the other half of this volume is more contemporary romance focused. So I had a really, really hard time rating this one because while I was interested in the more mystery aspects of this story, I felt like even with this being part of BL romance, that where the mystery ended was a good place to end the series. I didn't need the rest of the volume to tell me that there was going to be relationship drama at the end of this, which basically this whole relationship between these two guys here on the cover, there's a lot of drama in it. And there's a reason for the drama, but it's just a lot of drama and I'm not into that. So yeah, I think in the end though, this still ended up with a 4-star rating. I think, if it wasn't, I'll correct myself down here somewhere, but it was enjoyable. The mystery was definitely logical. It wasn't something that I had thought about, though as they were starting to put pieces together, I was like, but interesting. It definitely kept my interest. Like I said, could have done without all of the relationship drama, but I'm very interested to see what other works this author comes up with, because I did enjoy the story when it had to do with the mystery. I thought the mystery was well crafted. I enjoyed that part. And so, yeah. The art style is really nice. The character design was really nice. But I could have done without all of the relationship drama. So, glad to have finished my first series of the year, which is great. And so, hopefully that sets me off on completing more things this year. I'm thinking about doing a series in progress overview sometime when I get the chance to actually sit down and record. But yeah, I'm in the middle of a lot of series and I'd really like to finish some of them. And so this was one that I started last year. So with the duology, it's pretty easy to finish. And so I'm glad I was able to do that right away. So glad to have this done. Definitely enjoyed it. And I would definitely read more from that author in the future. The last thing that I finished this week was Ghoul Interrupted by Victoria Laurie. This is the 6th installment in the Ghost Hunter Mystery series. This is a reread for me. This is about our psychic medium, MJ, and her best friend Gilly, and another psychic medium, Heath. And up to this point in the series, they're kind of involved in filming a Ghost Hunters-like TV show. But after their previous case, Heath finds out that his uncle has passed away, and so they head to the reservation because Heath is Native American to pay their last respects. And while they are there, they find out that there is something unusual about the way his uncle passed. And then while they are there, some unusual things start happening. So this installment of the series is not one that I remember very well. In fact, while I was reading this, I didn't remember a lot of what had happened in this installment. And then when I went to go and log in into Goodreads, I saw that my rating was pretty low for this one. Now, most of the books in this series I have rated 4 or 5 stars previously. And when I had read them, which was like over 10 years ago, I wasn't like writing written reviews at the time. And so I don't know why I only gave it 3 stars. I only know that I gave it 3 stars. So as I'm doing this read through or this reread, I am also writing in my thoughts on the books because that's just what I do now. I do write down some thoughts in my reviews for all of the novels that I read. I don't do this for the manga, just the novels. And so I actually enjoyed this a lot more than I did when I previously read it. I had remembered that this one wasn't one that I had enjoyed as much as the rest, but I didn't think that I had rated it as low as I did. So I had originally rated this a 3 star, which means that it was just okay for me. But on reread, I quite enjoyed this one. I am listening to it on audiobook for the first time. The first time I read through this series, I did read it physically. I borrowed them all from my library. So this is my first time listening to the narration. And even though I have some issues with the way Gilly is narrated, I am enjoying the audiobooks quite a bit. But this one, I definitely enjoyed a lot more than I did previously. I still feel like the very first book in the series is not the best. It is my least favorite of what I've read so far, and I think it's my least favorite of all 10. But as far as the ratings go, this one and the first one, this one was the lower rated than the first one on my previous read-through. But that definitely changed this time around. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. And it was really, really good. I quite enjoyed this one. It definitely had a little bit of more of a spooky element to it. And there's some Native American lore woven into this one as well. And I quite enjoyed it. So yes, 4.5 stars. And I jumped right into my next one. So the next one is What a Ghoul Wants. So now we're into what I'm currently reading. This is the 7th book in the Ghost Hunter Mysteries series, and as you can see, there's a castle on the cover. So this one takes place in Wales, I believe. Yes, and so they MJ, Gilly, and Heath, and the production crew for their TV show Ghoul Getters, end up going to film a show at this castle that has been turned into a hotel. And this castle has like this big moat around it, you know, super like old ancient castle. And there is supernatural activity at the hotel. And this particular like ghosty is pretty violent compared to most of the ones, I would say. A few of the other ones we have already encountered in this series. I would say this one is probably up there with the Hatchet Man, which is in the 2nd installment as far as like the violence factor goes. But this one is definitely one of my favorites. And I am really, really enjoying revisiting this one. I'm pretty sure I gave this one 5 stars on my first read through. And so far, that is continuing. So I'm about this far through, So I'm on chapter 6. Really, really enjoying this. I do think that I'm going to put a pause on this series, though, after I finish this one, so I can read the rest of them during March Mystery Madness, which happens in March. Just a spoiler, super early notification for those of you that do watch my diary entries. March Mystery Madness, I'm sure you know, is something that I help to host every March. It is a month-long reading event where we encourage the reading of mysteries throughout the month of March. There are usually a set of prompts. We are currently working on that set of prompts with the rest of the hosts that will be participating. But you can expect to see an announcement video for our 9th round in the coming week. So keep your eyes out for that if you're interested. But yeah, I definitely want to save those audiobooks for March because I'm really enjoying this reread and I don't want to go through these books as fast as I have been just because I want to like savor my reread of the series. But really, really enjoying that so far. And then the other book that I'm in the middle of is one that I started, and that is Key of Light, which is the first book in the Key trilogy by Nora Roberts. So this is one that my mom had told me about. I typically stay away from Nora Roberts books because I associate Nora Roberts with romance books, you know? But I have read a few of Nora Roberts' trilogies in the past when I was much younger. I've read her Circle trilogy, which is like a urban fantasy kind of time travel kind of story, if I remember correctly. It's been a really long time, like over 10 years. And I've read, I believe it's called her Irish trilogy, which also had like urban fantasy elements to it, I think. And that one is in Ireland, I believe, which is why it's called the Irish trilogy, right? But I read, I think, the Irish trilogy first, and the Circle trilogy was a few years later. But I was much younger when I read those. Much more of somebody who would read more types of genres and would read romance. Whereas nowadays I kind of stay away from romance because there's a lot of things in romance stories that I just don't like, and it gets on my nerves and I get irritated and my eyes roll and all of that kind of stuff. But I've been talking to my mom about certain types of things that I like to see in my books because I'm not getting really great recommendations from watching BookTube. And I have noticed that in the years where I'm heavily watching BookTube and, you know, watching all of my friends' videos and getting exposed to other creators and watching their videos, that I have not been having great luck with the reads that I have been pulling because of the recommendations I'm getting from watching those videos. So, unfortunately, it seems like a side effect of me watching my friends, you know, watching other creators on YouTube is that I have lost my reading taste. I don't know what types of things I like anymore because a lot of times I'll hear somebody that I'm watching their video, they're talking about this book that they really enjoyed, and I think, oh, that sounds like it'll be something that I'll enjoy, and then I'll pick it up and I'll be like, nope, didn't enjoy that. Or I'll find something in it that really bothers me. And so I've just been having really bad luck picking books over the last couple of years. And I've noticed that over the last couple of years, I've been heavily watching BookTube as opposed to knitting podcasts, which is what I'll watch when I'm not heavily into BookTube. And I do think that 2023 is going to be more of a knitting podcast viewing year, just because I feel like my hobby like balance is pulling me more towards knitting this year. But as of right now, I've been doing really good with catching up on both of my BookTube friends and my knitting podcasts. And so that's been great. I'm able to watch everything right now. So that's awesome. But yeah, I've kind of lost my reading taste, and I need to fix that. And so I've been talking to my mom about, the things that I like to see in books, what I've enjoyed. And she gave me a couple of recommendations. And one of the things that she recommended was this series by Nora Roberts. And I thought, okay, how much romance is actually in that series? Because I don't mind having romance in books. I just don't want it to be the thing that the story is about. I need it to be like there's this super like heavy investigative murder mystery or a quest or something, and that needs to be the main thing with a little bit of romance on the side. And so she gave me a couple of recommendations, and so I'm kind of doing a little like reading out of my comfort zone type of project this year. And so I decided to start with this. I'm also going to be trying to read books that are currently popular right now amongst BookTube to see if I actually don't enjoy what everybody else does, because I've always thought that my reading tastes are so different from most of the people that I watch on BookTube. I haven't actually found anybody who has the same reading taste as me. So that's been a little bit of a difficulty as well. And it just may be that my reading tastes are so specific that there isn't anybody out there who has the same reading taste as me. Or I just haven't found them yet. But yeah. So part of my project is to read out of my comfort zone, and so this is my first step in doing that. So I am actually about 56% into this book. I didn't start it the last time I talked to you. I think I started it that night. So it's going pretty quick. I do find that Nora Roberts' writing style is very easy for me to read. This one did start off a bit slow for me because it is the first book in the trilogy. You are getting to know all of the characters, and the character that we got introduced to at the beginning of this book was not very likable at that point. And so, yeah, I'm like into this book right now, and things are definitely like moving. The questing part has already started. There's a little bit of mythology that's interwoven into the story as well. And at this point, they've kind of pulled our group together, and I think I see like who the couples are going to be and things like that, because I think in Nora Roberts series, when there is a trilogy like this, there are 3 main characters, and you're going to have each book is going to focus on each main character. But the first book, we are focused on one of the characters, but we're starting to like build our group of other characters that are going to be involved, and they're all helping with this quest and things, and it's pretty interesting at this point. I'm having a good time with it, and so I'm very surprised because, like I said, when I think Nora Roberts, I think, oh, she writes romance novels, and I stay away from those. And, if you go to the bookstore and you look for Nora Roberts books, they're in the romance section. And that is someplace that I do not visit when I go to the bookstore. I stay pretty much in the manga section and the cozy mystery section, which, by the way, has shrunk into a terribly, terribly miniature size at my Barnes & Noble, and it's a travesty. But those are like the 2 places that I'll visit. I will occasionally go into the children's section because I do enjoy a good middle grade book, and I will go into the YA section every once in a while. But other than that, and the crafting section because I like to look at the knitting books. But those are pretty much the places that I go. I steer clear of the romance section. I do not go in there. But, that is where this series would be. That is where this series would be if I wanted to go and purchase a copy, which I don't need to because my mom owns them all. But, yeah, my mom's, I would say, favorite, most read author is Nora Roberts, in both Nora Roberts and J.D. Robb. And so, yeah, it's been interesting. And I'm surprised that I'm enjoying this one as much as I am. And I definitely think that this series so far is one that has the elements that I enjoy. There's a quest, there's some mythology, there is romance there, but it's not the main focus, at least not that I'm seeing, of the story. So enjoying it a lot so far. So that's kind of been my surprise of the week, and that is everything that I'm currently in the middle of. So hopefully over the next week, I will finish What a Ghoul Wants, and then start on my February reads. I don't think that I'll be able to finish Key of Light by the time the month is over, because there's only a few more days left, but we'll see. We will see. But yes, enjoying my reads so far. So I guess now it's time for a Yarnie update. So I have actually put in work on both projects this week. So let's start off with my daughter's Pure Fuzz. So my Nutcracker sweater bag from Stitching the High Notes has my daughter's Pure Fuzz. Pure Fuzz is a pattern by Skeindeer, and I got the pattern free for joining her newsletter. So I am creating my daughter's Pure Fuzz out of Knit Picks Wonder Fluff in Welly's Heather. This is a bulky weight yarn. 70% baby alpaca, 23% nylon, 7% merino wool. And just a reminder, this is what it looked like when I talked to you last time. So I have done the collar. I have done both sleeves. And this is where I was the last time. So right under the arm. And I've got a little ghost stitch marker from Stitching the High Notes there. I actually picked this one up when I picked up the bag. And so I've got a little ghost there, and I've done this much. So far, so good. Really, really easy knitting, pretty much. Just going round and round and round. Got some good length on that right now. I just started in on my, I would say, 5th ball, because I do have a partial from when I finished the neckline, but this is my 5th full ball. And so I've got one more full ball, and then I'm going to do the bottom ribbing with this. I think that's enough. And so, yeah. Unfortunately, though, because I had mentioned to you I am knitting this in English style as opposed to continental, which is my regular knitting style at the moment. English is how I taught myself how to knit, and it was the style I had knit with for a long time. But it causes me a lot of pain in my arms and my hands and my shoulders, and so I try not to knit English style if I don't have to. But I've been enjoying this project so much that I knit myself into an injury this week. So by Wednesday, I knit myself into pain, all up my arm here, into my shoulder area, all in this part of my chest. It was all really, really sore. And you shouldn't knit as long as that to make yourself that sore. But I unconsciously did that. We were watching Heaven Official's Blessing, and I was just sitting there and watching and knitting and knitting and knitting, and yeah, I knit myself into an injury. So on Thursday, I had a meeting on Thursday, and so I took this out and I knit a couple rows, and I just couldn't do it. I was in a lot of pain. So I haven't knit on this since Thursday, but I am really enjoying this project. It is an easy knit for me, and it feels really nice, and I'm just really, really enjoying it. So I'm hoping to be able to put a little bit more work into this week, maybe even this evening, because I definitely feel a lot better today. But yeah, I had to put this one on hiatus for a little bit because I knit myself into an injury. So never a good idea to do that to yourself, but I have been enjoying that knit a lot. And I don't think I've ever told you what needles I was using with this one. So I'm using plastic needles. These are Denise interchangeable needles. I got a set of these, a breast cancer like fundraiser set from Denise. I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe it was early last year. But the breast cancer set came with these turquoise cords, and if you know me, you know that this is one of my favorite colors, and so absolutely had to have this set. But I'm really enjoying using them, and they're really nice and lightweight and very inexpensive set to use for interchangeables. And these click on and off. They don't screw in, so they click. So yeah, I enjoy those a lot, and really, really nice to have. They're not super pointy either, so I enjoy that most of the time. And so yeah, that's what I've done so far on my daughter's Pure Fuzz. And so because I put myself into a knitting injury, I needed to not knit English style anymore, so I pulled out my rainbow ring. So this is a Haunted Mansion towel bag that my mother made for me from a towel that we picked up at the parks. And inside is my rainbow ring sweater. Rainbow ring is a pattern from Stephen West. So I have knit this in my 31 Residents of Haunted Mansions yarn advent calendar from 2023, which I picked up from Fangirl Fibers. This was a Halloween advent, which I opened up in the month of December and knit it into the body of the sweater every day as I opened them. I did get a little bit behind during the month, but I do have a completed body, and I have started in on a sleeve. So the sleeve does match the body as it goes down. It's a little bit off because of the way that I'm holding the sweater at the moment, but there, that's better. You can see that that is where we are at. So I'm definitely chugging along on this. Again, as I do this, it's really, really addictive because, you know, it's just a little bit at a time. There's like 4 rows of color, and then you've got 4 rows of contrast. And then you just do it over and over and over again. And so, yeah, it's very kind of potato chippy kind of knitting. I did put another ghosty over here. It's a black ghosty, again from Stitching the High Notes. Just to let me know where the front part of the sleeve was, because I am magic looping the sleeve. And I am knitting this one with my Knitter's Pride wooden needle interchangeable set. And so, yeah. I'm definitely going to have to do a little bit of finagling with the sleeve, though, because I know I want my sleeve to be about 17 inches, and the sleeve length for my size is like 20.5 inches on the pattern. And there's a bunch of like decreases that you need to do per size, and I can't get as many decreases as my size says to get down to the length that I want. So the length of sleeve that I actually need is the length of sleeve that is written for the first size of the sweater. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of math and see where to decrease. I think what I may do is, as I get to the last couple colors, just double up on the increases in that section. I think that'll probably work the best for me. But yeah, so far so good. I'm still really, really enjoying the look of this sweater. And so yeah, this is going to be a lovely, lovely wear. And just enjoying like getting all the colors out again. I actually have quite a chunk left from each. So my plan is that after I finish this sweater, that I'm going to make a pair of socks for my daughter and then see how much I have left and then decide what I'm going to do with the remaining part of the yarn. But yeah, so far, highly enjoyable sweater. If you've got like scraps and you want a scrappy project, but you're tired of making blankets, this is definitely a great project. I am enjoying this one a lot. And the contrast color I'm using is this like gray, steel gray color. It is Gothic Smoke on Biscotti sock base from Yarn Cafe Creations. I have 4 skeins of this. I am on my 3rd skein. This is 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon. 437 yards, 100 grams. This is what I'm working off right now. This is what's left of my 3rd skein, and I've got 1 more full skein of this left. So plenty of yarn to finish the sweater. Super excited for this, and I definitely recommend. There is purling in this. There is purling, but if you're not so objective to that, this is a great project. It's really, really great. Especially if you only want to like put in a couple rows or just do like 1 main color and 1 contrast color section every day. I mean, it's really addictive, and I'm really, really enjoying this knit. So it's definitely made me look at Stephen West's sweater collection a lot more too, because the instructions for this was super simple, very easy to understand, and I feel like the fit of the sweater is going to be much better for me because it's more of a unisex style sweater as opposed to a women's sized sweater, which all of the sweaters that I have made so far have been patterns done by women. And, you know, I always have an issue with the arm being too tight or, you know, something like that. But I don't think I'm going to have an issue with the arm being too tight on this because it is a unisex sized sweater. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this and getting it like on properly and seeing what it looks like, because I really, really enjoyed working this pattern. And I don't think that this is going to be my only rainbow ring, if I'm honest. I'm trying to talk myself out of doing one for like another yarn advent calendar that I have, or even the one that I'm planning to pick up this year. But it's been really fun, and I really, really recommend this pattern. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for knitting, all I've been reading. Last night we watched a documentary on Netflix. I think it was called like American Nightmare or All American Nightmare. It was about a kidnapping in California in like 2015 or something like that, where this guy and his girlfriend had a home invasion, kidnapping, and the girlfriend was kidnapped, and the police kind of honed in on the boyfriend, thinking that his story was unbelievable, and then basically didn't look at any other suspects and things, and it was just like a whole ordeal. So it's a 3-part documentary series, and it was super interesting, super like upsetting because of the way that things were handled by not only the police department that had gotten the case in the first place, but the FBI when they stepped in. And yeah, very interesting series, very like anger inducing. It was super got on my nerves, the things that were happening, and definitely deals with not only, you know, kidnapping, but sexual assault. And so just a trigger warning for you there. But very interesting. And so if you're into crime documentaries like that, I definitely think that's one that you might want to check out. We watched another one on Hulu called Bad Romance. It was a 2020 special edition. And it was actually like more in-depth look at a case that we had watched from one of our true crime YouTubers that we watch stuff from. And so that was really interesting. That case was about a guy who was on like Family Feud and ended up killing his wife. And so, yeah, that was interesting. And then we watched another like 2020 special edition on a guy who like killed his business partner. And so, yeah, we've been into the crime documentaries again. When we're not watching those special edition ones, we've been watching Snapped, which is an Oxygen like show that's a long running show that has like half an hour episodes about true crime. That's a show that I think we watched either when we were in Hawaii on the television or when we were in Florida. It was on television, but yeah. It's kind of in the off season where our TV shows aren't back yet. There's a couple and more coming back as the weeks go by, but we're like at a loss for things to watch right now. And so, yeah, we've been watching our crime documentaries. I mentioned we watched Heaven Official's Blessing. We finished the first season, which encompasses the first volume of the light novel. And that actually really like ignited my want to read more of that series. I think because when I had read Heaven Official's Blessing, when I read it, I was expecting a much more mysterious type of story than it actually is. Like, this is basically like a world where you have this traveling heaven official who is like helping out with supernatural things that are going on in these towns that he's traveling to, as opposed to being it like a super like heavy mystery investigation type thing. It's more like light mystery, and then there's a BL romance that's kind of brewing at this point, I will say. I enjoyed watching the first season of the anime, or I'm not sure what you call Chinese animation, but we watched it on Crunchyroll, and it's really made me want to pick up the next installment. So I might have to fit that one in my February reading if I'm able to. We've been watching a bunch of the anime that have come out. And so we're keeping up with Solo Leveling. We started Blue Exorcist, the new season. I watched the first episode of Demon Prince of Momochi House, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue that one, or if I want to read the series first and then go back and watch. But enjoyed what I watched of that. Mr. Villain's Day Off is really entertaining, really enjoying that one. And A Sign of Affection, we watched a little bit of that as well. I'm not sure what I want to do with that one either, because I do have more volumes of that series to read, but I'm enjoying the anime experience more because I can see the hand gestures of the signs better in the animation than it's coming across on page in the manga. And so, yeah, that's what we've been watching lately. Just a lot of like different things, lots of variety of things, I would say, but enjoying what we've been watching so far. And that's pretty much it. So I am fully in the like busy meetings area of my work time. So over the next few months through the beginning of April, I've got a lot of meetings for things that are happening at the office. And so it's just been kind of strange. It's been a little weird. I do feel a little bit stressed. It's adding a little bit extra busyness to my day, to my work week, but it's manageable at this point. And other than that, everything is same old, same old. So that's pretty much all I've got for you this week. Let me know down in the comments below what you've been up to this last week. I do want to mention that my daughter and I have started a new series on my channel. So if you're interested in reading Assassination Classroom along with the Monochrome Manga Club, you can do so. I've always said that you could do so by commenting on any of my Disis19 Diary videos where I'm talking about it, or dropping into our Discord. But we're also adding a podcast. So my daughter and I will be sharing our thoughts on Assassination Classroom volumes as we read them for the Monochrome Manga Club. So every month there will be an episode where we discuss the volumes of Assassination Classroom and what we thought of it. So it will be a spoilery podcast. So definitely don't listen to our thoughts unless you want to be spoiled or have already read the volumes. But the first episode should already be up by the time you're seeing this video. So if you're interested in hearing our thoughts on Assassination Classroom, you can definitely check that out in the link down in the description box below. And that's pretty much it. So like I said, let me know down in the comments below what you've been up to this week. Anything fun and exciting you've been up to and you'd like to share, I'd like to know. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a flower emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated. It would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.